G'day everyone, Calvin here, Coaching Company in New Zealand. Behind me is a Surf. We're going to have a chat about this vehicle and what we found, our involvement, and a little bit of diagnosis, and it's for the customer as well, to see the couple of things that I want sorted. It'll make more sense once I get into the video. Hello Frank. Good boy. Where's your ball? Go get your ball. Go find your ball. So I've got this Surf here, and as you can see, it's very low Surf. So you could call it a Hilux station wagon. So it's exactly the same as that one. Is the fact that the body is the same, but that's on a four-wheel drive chassis. This is on a two-wheel drive chassis. The normal stuff. It's been cartoonified, and what we did here is we supplied the engine. We prepped the engine, we did the wiring loom for it, and a few little bits and pieces, and it was sent away to Kyle's mechanic, and it was all fitted up. Now the mechanic's done a bloody beautiful job of putting everything in place and getting it all sorted. There's just a couple of little finesse pieces that it required me to look over and do some checking and sort a few things out on it. Okay, and it's going to go back and have a couple of things for him to sort as well. Oh, okay. So in here we've got a Haltech 2500. There's relays and fuses that we built. I'm making a couple of little changes to the program at the moment. Over here we've got the Marco dash surround and the IC7. It matches up with that Haltech. It's got the Recaro interior. Now the owner bought this, I believe he bought the chassis body combination, and he's then gone through and done other bits and pieces, which includes that and a manual. It's got the Skyline brakes on the front, so they're nice. The big rotors. Now, one complaint that he's had is when it gets hot, the starter motor has been playing up. And we fitted the starter, so we've got it back and we just banged another one in. Even though we've never had a problem with those starter motors, okay? Certainly in a short use either, never had a failure. Sure, when they've been in there for 5-6 years in a four-wheel drive and full of mud, different story. But in short-term use, never had a fault. So, but we just whipped it out, put another one. But the faults continued, so probably not a starter motor. That's pretty standard logic. So I got my multimeter out and I tested resistance between the earth and the body. Battery in the back. Cable going down. And I've had my amp gauge on. There's been some other stuff that I've been doing. I'm going to put this up because I don't want to bang my head. We get under here. And it came down to I'll try and find it. There it is, bolted there. Now I've added an additional strap here to the body as well. But right in here, what we had is, see how we've got the heat shrink? It's a little hard to see. There's some heat shrink there. Well, when it was put on, it just slightly went onto the eyelet. So this bolt on this back side was actually clamping onto the dirty chassis, and it had a little bit of that heat shrink. So I had a bit of resistance back there. Kyle was going to tighten up that bolt after it's done a few Ks. And I came to the front, and earth. There's one earth strap under here, which is on the idler bolt. And that one actually comes up to an engine mount, and the engine mount is painted, so it's bolted on. Sure, the bolt goes into the aluminium, but the actual clamping of the earth is onto painted surface. We've also got this one. I've given this a bit of I've put an extra one on it. This one goes to the block and bolted on, clean surface. Now looking at the Haltech, it's got fault codes, it's got some stuff happening in there, and it allowed me to check something else. Now, I did, of course, check power supplies as well, and all those were tight. Okay, all were tight. And I am going to say again, the mechanic that put this together did a lovely job. He did a really, really awesome job of it. But something that he missed, it's very easy to miss, and down in here, not very good footage there, down to the alternator, and the wiring comes around here, comes along here, and it's this wire here. That's the alternator wiring there. Okay, it will flow up into here into a fuse as well. There's an 80 amp fuse, so that splits off, it goes into the cabin. So some of the amperage will go to cabin stuff, but in times of load, it's going to flow to that bolt over that side and then back to that battery in the boot. So it's really critically important that you have good charging. And that wire that goes down to the alternator simply isn't big enough. That needs to come out, it needs to be replaced. I would put a aftermarket fuse in myself. I would use that fuse to be protection for the cabin, and then over along here, or I would fuse here going to this point here, put a good fuse with lots and lots of or a nice big cable. See, that one just really isn't big enough. That is a 130 amp alternator down there, 130 amps. And we see this a little bit. They often work fine when the battery is in good order, but you get a flat battery and you can overheat those wires or cause fires and burning and melting stuff that you don't want to melt. Okay. That's the right brake hose. I'm just wondering if there's a one-way valve in there, so I'm just going to make a note about that. Some of them, they have them here, but I don't think this one does. So just check whether it's got a one-way valve. It may have been pushed into this hose that I can't feel it. So there's the dash layout. That's pretty cool. Now other things, and I'm just going to do a very quick note, make sure there is some sort of fuel pressure regulation. I often use a fuel filter with a pressure regulator in it, and I mount it at the back, so a single line forward, because 3UZs don't have a return line. So that's something that's important. This one, we put the emission valves on them, so that can be added if required, but it doesn't have to be, okay? And that's why that is blanked off. This has got a set of our headers on it. So those are a set of our, we sell them unwelded, or they're just sort of tacked together. They can be taken apart, clipped together nicely. And this one, we're going to go under here, and we're going to have a look at the sump. Let's see if we can see it. Oh, yep, there we go. So this one, custom rear sump, was used to drop everything back as far as possible, so giving plenty of clearance on steering and things like that. So it is a very, very cool truck. I've been really pleased to be involved in this truck, and I've done quite a lot of vehicles for Kyle, the owner, and it'll go away, have those few bits and pieces checked out, and if necessary it may have to come back for other finesse, but I've done as much as I can do at this point in time. And it's really nice to see mechanics putting stuff together that we've sent out. It's really, really nice to see. And to see a truck like this, or a vehicle like this, back on the road and being legal.